Ladies and gentlemen, pay attention. This is your boy, the coach from the WWE. I would like to welcome you to the very first wrestling podcast in the world to take you on a weekly deep dive into classic matches along with legends of the squared circle. Enjoy the discussion. Enjoy the back and forth. There's so much to get into. Ladies and gentlemen, this is The Payoff.
Welcome to an all-new episode of The Payoff. I'm Tom. That's Jeff. We're going way back to 2014. Charlotte and Natalya. I will tell you I'm excited about this one because I remember it being really good. So this will be a great one for us to cover. But Jeff, first of all, how the hell are you doing?
You know, I'm feeling pretty good this week. We've got, Money in the Bank on the horizon here. We've got this NXT AAA show on the horizon. You know, just the summer months, you feel good. You know, SummerSlam is around the corner. Just a good time. Wrestling's, it's good right now. Like we're eating good, as they like to say.
And how did this match end up on your radar?
Yeah, this is one I've had it on the list for a while. Actually, I figured we had covered a women's match in a little bit here, so I wanted to kind of sneak one in here as before we kind of ramp up, for the summer episodes and stuff like that. And I thought this was just one that, especially as much as Charlotte has, been, I say, in the news or in the kind of wrestling, dirt sheets lately, and then also, Natalya having that kind of blood sport kind of one-off match as well too that everybody really enjoyed, and her being the kind of the shepherd, if you will, of a lot of these NXT women. I thought it was just a kind of a good one to cover for us to talk about. You can talk about Charlotte and kind of, all kinds of different angles with her at any point, and, whether she's liked, not, whatever. But this is before all of that. This was, the NXT days. And really, for the women, this was a really big deal because they were just kind of getting going at this point and kind of really trying to be more of a face of the company and get out of that Divas era. So it should be a good one.
I'm looking forward to covering this one. We have a ton to talk about. So as always, let's get into the build.
Oh, it's time for the build.
NXT, May 29th, 2014. 11 years ago. 2014 doesn't sound that long ago, but 11 years ago, Full Sail University, Winter Park, Florida, the heyday of NXT, perhaps. It's funny. I go back and I look at these cards, and I forget what podcast I was listening to recently and who it was, and it might have been Bailey. But just running through all the names that were in NXT at a given time. And these cards were loaded with future talent. I mean, and they probably are now too. I really enjoyed watching these. I'm not a big indie wrestling fan. I only have so much time to dedicate in a week to pro wrestling. But in this era, I found myself making sure to watch at least all of the, NXT pay-per-views. I mean, I don't even do it now, but they were just really good. So this card, Adam Rose is going to defeat Camacho in 5 minutes. The Ascension is going to retain their tag team championship against El Loco and Kalisto in 7 minutes. Tyler Breeze is going to defeat Sami Zayn to determine the number one contender for the NXT championship in 18 minutes. We have our match with Charlotte and Natalya. And then, and remember, and we'll talk more about this, but this is the Divas era. So it's just wild that, we're still doing the Diva thing on the main roster, but we're going to get a 17-minute match between these two. And it was really, really good. This, by the way, Jeff, this is the first match where I went, oh, these women can hang. And this is a really good match. Not a really good women's match. It's just a really good wrestling match. This is the first one where I was just like, wow, just really, really impressed. And I was excited about the future. Of course, we get the Ric Flair and Bret Hart tie-in as well. And then our main event, Adrian Neville is going to retain the NXT championship in 20 minutes, defeating Tyson Kidd. So that's it. I'm sure you'll talk more about how we got here and the brackets to determine the NXT Women's Championship. But again, just like a lot of the shows during this era, a really fun 2 hours of wrestling. And, you look at, Charlotte and Natalya, Hall of Famers, Sami Zayn, Hall of Famer, the Ascension had a run on the main roster. Neville was fun to watch on the main roster. Tyson Kidd's done some amazing things behind the scenes because of his injury. So a lot of unique stories in this one.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting too. So this one this match, like you said, there's a lot of moving pieces in this one. So the NXT Women's Championship, it was introduced in 2013. So just the year prior to this, there was a tournament for that one. Paige going over Emma to win that inaugural champion or become the inaugural champion. She vacated the title in April of 2014. So just the month prior to this, because she had been called up to the main roster. She won the Divas Championship, like you said. And so they decided the best way to do it, and I agree with this, was a tournament. And so they did the tournament. 8 women. You had Bayley, Sasha Banks, Layla, Natalya, Alexa Bliss, Alicia Fox, Charlotte, and Emma. And then getting to, because through that, you get to Natalya and Charlotte in the finals of that tournament. Now, adding another component to this, of course, we all know the families of both of these people, Bret Hart and Ric Flair. And so during this match as well, too, you'll see that Bret is in Natalya's corner, Rick is in Charlotte's corner. And so you had you're adding that component to it as well, too. And we always say, like, that's the way you use these legends. That's the way you use these people that, to put them out there like that, to help get people over, or just to, get eyes on the product, whatever it might be. And so it was billed as Hart versus Flair, which kind of harkens back to the rivalry between Ric Flair and Bret Hart. And so it kind of made sense, like, the approach they were taking on this one. You have these two families of wrestling, these long-term kind of people going at it. You have Bret and Rick in each opposite corner as well, too. And then the two women taking each other on for what was the finals of this tournament. It's all good stuff. It's all something to, kind of look forward to, and it should be exciting.
So we are at the 1 hour and 6 minute mark. Little Nate is holding up the title.
Yeah.
You ready for this one?
I'm ready. I'm excited. I think that we're going to be pleasantly surprised by this one, I hope.
I am too. Looking forward to this one. All right. 1 hour, 6 minute mark. It's time for the payoff.
Oh, it's time for the payoff.
History of our industry now being represented by two of the premier divas here on NXT, competing for the NXT Women's Championship. This is a moment in time that will live forever.
I forgot what the setup looked. I was curious. So we have 400 people in there. The way they have this configured is great. I think so. There's just people everywhere, and it feels, that's probably the nice thing about, we'll call this like a residency, right? But they're in the same building. They can configure it the way they want. I think it's smart that AEW's been running smaller buildings lately. I mean, they don't have a choice. They have to run smaller buildings.
Yeah, they have to. Yeah.
The problem is, you and I were talking about that one they had recently at it was like an amphitheater in Detroit.
Yeah, the theater.
Some of the buildings look cool, but a lot of them don't. They just look awkward and empty. So my point is like this building and what they do at the Performance Center, what you need, and tell me if you agree, but I just feel like you need people surrounding it. I want to see people. I don't want to see empty seats. I don't want to see black space. I want to see as many people as possible. And you can take 1,000 people and it can look really crowded. Think about ECW. ECW Arena was 1,700 people, but it just felt like it just felt live. So some of these AEW buildings that they're running, I just think that because of the configurations, they look empty, and nobody wants to look at an empty building on TV.
Yeah. It was interesting. A good kind of technical match at this point. You figure both of them, real, especially Natalya, that kind of heart dungeon and submission, specialist, stuff like that. So this should all be like, they're kind of really locking up, not real wrestling at this point, but yeah, real good stuff. Interesting that I had a friend, her and some of her family actually went to that AEW show in Detroit. And so they said they had it's interesting because they said, well, there was too many talking segments. They're like, the wrestling was really good, but it was just hard to kind of stay, kind of locked in for the whole time. And so it's interesting because it's like, they do have a good roster, but not everybody. And I get that, but there is a lot of people, like she got to see Okada, which is a big deal. Like, and she's like, he's better in person. And I was like, I get that. And so, but I just have no desire. And then, which kind of spoiler, they said TK came out after and promised that Detroit's getting a pay-per-view soon. So who knows what that'll be, but, and where it'll be and all that other stuff. But, the video of him was just kind of like crazy, doing like Hulk Hogan mannerisms and stuff like that. I don't know what the hell it was, but I think it's fine to be weird. In fact, that's like a good thing, right? So I'm not saying everyone has to act the same, look the same, behave the same, but I watch some of his mannerisms, like the one you're talking to, and I look at that and I go, now I know why they can't grow an audience, because I just feel like here's what he's doing. And this was when WWE was at its worst from a booking standpoint. It would be ideas that Vince McMahon thought were really good and nobody else did. Yep.
And I'm not saying Tony Khan's booking stuff that only he finds interesting, but I think he is booking for a tape trading, wrestling obsessed, New Japan watching niche of a niche audience. And the people that are like Tony are loving it, but he's not appealing to the masses. So that's okay. It's his company. It's his inheritance. He can do whatever he wants with it. But I mean, if the objective here is how do we get 1 million people watching our show weekly? How do we get 200,000 buys on pay-per-view? How do we fill stadiums and arenas, not small venues?
Yep.
You have to appeal to a broader audience. And Tony's taste, his personality, his behavior does not scream mass appeal. And that's a problem. That's where they're at right now.
Well, and I think they can't, like,
by the way, really good match so far. Just technical and
it's just a lot of chain wrestling. Yeah.
Really good stuff.
Well, and I feel like at a certain point, and we can talk about this too now, it's a good kind of segue into it, is like they need to stop trying to compete with WWE. Like, I sent you that text the other day, we saw the kind of ricochet back and forth, and they're working themselves into shoots and all this other stuff. How would you, like, as long as they consider WWE to be their competitor, they're always going to be that kind of little brother to them. Like, if they could carve out their own niche of what they want to do, and it seems like they were trying to, like, we're going to be bloody as can be at some point.
They did it. They were different. They were an alternative brand.
And that was how they said that what they were going to do when Cody was there. It's like, and now it's we see it every single time. And there are cuts to the company, like those. It's a reality. No, we don't want anybody losing their job, but also like it's like, oh, WWE fumbled, like this person, like AEW is going to sign Dakota Kai next week. Like, okay, like, but also like was she more than like really like a B player on anything, or also even a C player? Like, yeah, maybe she's great in the ring. Okay, fine. But also, like, she wasn't involved other than like what some of the damage control stuff. She was just never. I wasn't like, well, I'm going to tune in because of Dakota Kai. And they're like, well, AEW is going to sign her and they're going to fix that. Like, same with Ricochet. I'm not turning in to watch Ricochet. Like, I do want to see the Young Bucks. I do want to see Okada, Kenny Omega, like some of those big names, but that's not who's being pushed on me right now. And I get you've got to build stars. I get you got to put people out there, but it's just not going about it the right way. And it's not from people that I want to see. Like, also, like, okay, great. Rusev's back in WWE. I'm excited about that, but also like, whatever, like, that's fine. He'll be a perfectly fine B or C level player. Like, But also I'm not losing my shit on the internet over like, oh, AEW fumbled him. Like, he worked for WWE first and they fumbled Rusev Day. So like, everyone's at fault on that one. So I like the internet, like the vocal minority of wrestling fans on the internet are just, shut up, sit down, like, just enjoy. If you don't like, you can enjoy it too. And yeah, we're gonna complain.
I said that. I actually may have said that to someone this morning. I said, they were talking about like your typical internet wrestling fan, and I said they don't find joy in anything. Everyone has to be angry about everything. Oh, Hulk Hogan said this, I have to be angry. Oh, Triple H booked the main event this way, have to be angry. Ticket prices have gone up, have to be angry. Like, just enjoy this stuff. Just find joy in it. Hey, like, I mean, like some of these pay-per-views, Backlash is a B pay-per-view. Here's what I think. I think I'm going to get 3 hours. I'm going to get 5 matches, and it's not going to cost me a dime. And I'm going to sit on my couch or sit on my porch or sit wherever I sit and just enjoy the hell out of it. And whoever wins, whoever loses. The other thing that was part of this little back and forth I had with somebody, I said, the vocal minority of wrestling fans, they react to everything like it's a series finale.
Yep.
I cannot believe Cody didn't defeat Roman at WrestleMania. Well, is this it? Is wrestling ending? No. We got 3 hours, 2 hours of Raw on Monday. We got 3 hours of SmackDown. We got another pay-per-view. We got another stadium to fill overseas. This stuff never ends. So, like, you can't react to things as if it's ending. Like, just enjoy the ride.
And I think you and I talked to, like, do they do seasons? Like, let wrestlers get out for 3-4 months, bring them back, like, kind of introduce storylines. I think there's ways that can kind of, you can introduce some of those things. But if you're not finding something that you're enjoying during some of these, like, you're just not trying. Like, we can all agree, like, the first night or like, Mania, like, second night was better, but the first night main event was better, and kind of looking at that. But there were genuine, like, I didn't see on any, like, sheets like Joe Hendry was going to be the one that came out against Randy Orton. We now know that Orton was the one pushing for that. Like, that was a genuine surprise during the show. And it's hard nowadays in any medium to be genuinely surprised. Like, I think of this new, the new Marvel movie Thunderbolts. Like, if you didn't see it opening weekend, like, there's spoilers everywhere. And like to kind of them to keep that under wraps. I know you and I watched and listened to some of the CM Punk stuff and him being snuck in when, they were, for that Survivor Series that year, and just how they go about it. Like, it's just, it's crazy. So to be genuinely surprised, there's no reason to not enjoy that. Oh, he squashed Joe Hendry. Yeah, he did. But who cares?
It was great.
Comes into play. Snapmare.
So we've got Brett and Rick have not gotten involved yet. They're both just kind of on opposite sides. Fans are definitely way into this one. Brett and Rick were jawing a little bit at each other, but it's really the focus has been on the women in this one, which is good. And they did. Go ahead. I was gonna say, and they did call them divas when they came out, but they are taking. But it is for Saxton. Yeah. Women's championship, still calling them divas.
Well, I'm sure that's what Vince wanted the women to be referred to. So he was just being consistent with the main roster. So, as I was preparing for this, I thought, is Natalya one of the 10 best female performers ever. And then I looked at some lists and I'm like, no, she's not, because there's just a lot. I mean, I really thought. I mean, my point was she's had a hell of a run and a really great career, but definitely not top 10. Maybe in the 11 to 20 range, but she's just not there. It'll be interesting to see what happens with her, because I still would like for them to do more, and maybe it's just because I'm an older fan that that heart nostalgia. But it's like I wish there was. I'd love to see her have another run, but it also needs to be. And I don't know if she has it in her, but it needs to be something than the aw shucks Natalya smiling at the camera. And I'm not even saying it should be a heel, because I don't know if she can be a heel. But I would love to see her do more before her career's over. And figuring something out. So Charlotte, top rope now. Moonsault misses. Man, what a fantastic match. Well, and Rick and Brett, I mean, there's a lot of matches that these guys had. I was just looking at it. I mean, we remember the match where Brett defeated Rick for the championship, October 12th, 1992. This I didn't know. January 9th, 1993. They had a 60-minute Iron Man match on a house show at the Boston Garden. Brett's going to retain the championship, winning 3-2. That's pretty wild. Never knew about that. They had a one-on-one match in WCW that was actually pretty well reviewed. But that Iron Man match is interesting. No recollection of that happening. All right, so we got Natty.
Charlotte has to make she has to. If she's going to pull her fingernails out on the canvas, she has to make that rope.
Charlotte screaming out, reaching for the bottom, now drag back into the center of the ring.
Is that Nigel McGuinness on commentary?
Yes. Yep.
She has to make that.
Whoa, Charlotte
counter. No, that's not. I don't know who that is. I'm looking up.
Whoa, wait a minute.
A counter and into a figure four.
Sharpshooter into a figure four counter.
And look at that. We saw the knee damage before with the leg whip off the apron. And that knee.
I love seeing Brett and Flair there.
Oh, it's Regal.
Regal and who?
Byron Saxton, William Regal, and Tom Phillips.
Oh, okay. Didn't recognize his voice.
I didn't either, but yeah, that makes sense though. At this point, he was, it's so involved, like how involved he was.
I'll
still Rick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, as I say, both Rick and Brett still not involved. Yeah.
Well, what'd you think they were going to do? Go in there and work a match?
Yeah, they could. You never know.
I know. I
definitely
would like to see a bump or something. I can't remember if they get physically involved or not.
We'll have to see here at the end. Everyone's on their feet. Yeah.
Yeah. Figure four, reversing the figure four. Check. Natalya just slapped her across the face. Just a fantastic match. I'll tell you, Charlotte. There are. To me, there's only a handful of wrestlers at any given time that I would say have like an aura, and the aura being Roman Reigns, right? But like Charlotte just always feels like a big deal. When she comes out, she is a superstar, and there's not many of them out there. Right. Yeah. There's something about her. And I don't know how many years left she has wrestling, and might be a while, because it seems to be an important part of her life. And so it'll be interesting to see. But I mean, she just has that, just like her father did. That larger than life entrance and presentation. She backs it up in the ring. Incredible catalog of matches. There's more to go. We want to see her and Rhea again, right? They had a great match. We want to see her and Becky again. Like that needs to happen.
Right.
Her and Bayley, if they ever bring Rousey back into the fold. I
saw that rumor the other day that they want to bring her back. Like, people are like, nope, we don't need that. She doesn't need to come back. Like,
So here's my thing with Rousey is she wasn't presented right. Ronda Rousey should have never spoken, and she should have been managed. I mean, the problem is Paul Heyman can only manage so many people, but I mean, the idea of Rousey like in a faction with Rollins and Breakker, and not having to speak, it just her entire aura to me was completely diminished the minute she spoke. Then I don't remember when it was. She did a promo that was so bad, so low energy, no inflection in her voice, and it just took away everything. I mean, it would be like Mike Tyson opening up. Oh, whoa.
Here's your winner,
Ric Flair.
NXT Women's Champion, Charlotte.
I'm speechless.
There you go.
Just kind of a quick finish there after after a long match. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, the new NXT Women's Champion.
Big hug from Dad.
Charlotte.
I mean, the best moments in wrestling are the ones that are legitimate, right?
You're right. This was the crying era of TakeOver NXT too. Like,
I'll tell you. I mean, it was fine for a while there. Every Brett and that's cool. Brett and Flair hugging, the women hugging.
Kind of good sportsmanship. Yep.
This is fantastic.
Yeah,
wow. It's really, really good. Yeah, but there was it got to a point where the end of every women's match was crying and hugging. And we've gotten away from that, but it was bad. I mean, it was, and then they'd all come out and cheer for Bayley or whoever won, and it just felt like what are we doing here? They still do it sometimes. There's times where like I'll see a picture of all 30 women in the Women's Royal Rumble, and they'll all be like in a practice ring taking a group photo.
Yeah. That veil is too much to me.
Gone. Yeah. And I don't love it. So, all right, let's get to the aftermath.
Ho! It's time for the aftermath.
What'd you think?
Yeah, better than expected. It was a technical match, but from very technical match, which I thought was pretty good. You didn't have the over involvement of Rick and Brett, which was really good. Didn't need it. Let the women shine, which helped. And so they can be in the ring now, but don't take away from them. Like that's just such a big piece of it. And so just really good overall. How about you?
Loved it. Absolutely loved it. The use of the legends in the corners, the history that's there. Again, for those that don't remember, women were presented as divas. The matches were 2 minutes long, wedged into a bathroom break. This was one of the first times where, wow. Because everybody remembers like, oh, well, Lita and Trish had that, main event on Raw. Yeah. And then there was probably a bra and panties match next week with two other people. I mean, okay. So like that didn't fix it. We had
the sex celebration. Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah. So this really hits home for me. I absolutely loved it. Big fan. So what happened immediately after this?
Yeah, so this was really, Natalya went back to the main roster. She had been there. But Charlotte, this was the start. She ended up holding the belt for 258 days, taking on Bayley, all kinds of other people. But this was really the kind of start of this change for women's wrestling, like you said. It was really viewed as, like you said before this, it was the bathroom match. It was, the kind of one-offs. But showed, this was a 16, 17-minute match. And so they showed, like, hey, we can go out there and we can do this too. They needed people like Charlotte. They needed, Natalya had been putting in work at this point on the main roster, but they trusted her enough to work with Charlotte and get them over like this. So you had the horsewomen kind of coming up at this point who were just really good wrestlers, and you didn't need this sex to sell it. And so I don't even know think about it a lot. I don't know like how they could even do that nowadays with the sponsorships and like the stuff they got away with the Attitude Era. A lot of that they couldn't get away with, but some of the women's stuff too, like, you know, outside of Vince, whatever problems he already has, like they would be getting ripped pretty good for some of this stuff. And so it would just, you know, who knows what we'd look at. Like you couldn't imagine any of these women doing that nowadays. So I don't know. It's hard to say. But yeah. And so but, you know, women's wrestling kind of evolved at this point in 2014 into what it is and kind of getting rid of that Divas stuff and still respecting that legacy, but kind of, you know, turning it into true wrestling. So PWI for this year for the women, this was 2014. Charlotte was 10, Natalya was 9, so they were both pretty high up on the list for this year. The Observer newsletter, they gave this one 4 stars. Ref broke the hold. Charlotte was about to go for the figure 4, but she shot a look at Brett and put her in the sharpshooter instead. Natalya escaped, but Charlotte followed with a rolling face buster for the clean win. That match was fucking awesome, in all caps. Flair threw a giant party on the floor, then hit the ring to hug his daughter. I'm sure legit tears were shed. Charlotte and Natty hugged too. Rick and Butt did respect handshake. This was the best celebration I ever saw. Screw your entertainment. This was pro wrestling as a motherfucking sport, goddammit. And I loved it with all my heart. 4 stars. So Meltzer was all about this. Like, hey, you know, yeah, interesting what he says nowadays about some of these women's matches. But 4 stars. Where are you going to put this one?
And Meltzer also, if you go back and look at some of his comments on women's wrestling and women's matches over the years, he's made, you know, it takes a lot to offend me, but you read some of the things he said and it's just offensive and it's disgusting. Yeah. So it's just, you know, but at any rate, I have this one at a 8. Mm-hmm. Wow, Tom, 8's pretty high. Well, it's because of the significance of it. It's because this match changed a lot of people's perspectives on what women's wrestling could be. And you tie in, I mean, it's easy to look at it now, but if I would have told you in 2014 that there's going to be a women's Royal Rumble, there's going to be a women's War Game, there's going to be a women's only pay-per-view, there's going to be women main eventing WrestleMania. And oh, by the way, this isn't pushed down our throat. It's because the best match on the card that the 70,000 people in attendance are looking for happens to be a women's match.
Yep.
It seemed impossible to even think of. I mean, it's not like in 2014, anyone would have said, hey, maybe there'll be a day. It was impossible to even think about. And I don't know what the future holds, but is there eventually going to be a 2-night Royal Rumble?
Yes.
I'd be surprised if there's not. Okay.
Yeah.
Which means there's going to be 60,000 people in a stadium and the main event is going to be a women's Royal Rumble.
Yep.
And no one's going to leave there disappointed. Half the years, the women's Royal Rumble's better than the men's Rumble. The first one they did, and I think it was I think Asuka won, but I can't remember. It was better that year than the men's. The surprises were great. The match was great. So we've come a long way. This match wasn't the only reason why, but it absolutely played a part. So for the historical significance, I give this an 8. What about you?
Yeah, I'm at a 7.5. It was a very good match. Like if I was like I almost feel like it should be like an 8.5 because they went out there, they put the work in, it looked great. You know, everybody, you know, that's almost one of those, and I wish we'd been tracking this since the beginning, like one of those, like, hey, if you want to just see like, you know, like a turning point match or a match that was very important and really good, like this is the one. Like this is one that people should be going back to kind of check out and see what's happening. And so, yeah, just all really good stuff though. Yeah.
Good. Cool. We have a fun one next week. Austin Undertaker on a Monday Night Raw. So that's going to be a lot of fun and there'll be a lot to talk about. Next couple are really good. So we got a Bret Hart match coming up the week after that, and a lot of Bret. There's always a lot to talk about when it comes to Bret Hart.
Yep, absolutely. So should be real good stuff. Cool. All right, let's send him home happy.
All right. Well, great episode, great match. Good work as always finding this one, Jeff. And as always, we'll see everyone next week on an all new episode of The Payoff.